Okay. As school district clerk, I'd like to call the Sanborn Regional School District's Budget Committee to order for Thursday, April 23rd, 2020, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to read this checklist to ensure meetings are compliant with the right to know law during the state of emergency. So I'm reading this for the chair. As chair of the Sanborn Regional School District Budget Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Sanborn Regional School District's Budget Committee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform. And the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656. The meeting ID is 939-2220-2228. And the password 620274, or by clicking on the following website address, and there's a streaming address which is located on our website, www.sau17.org. And B, we're providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the Sanborn Regional School District at www.sau17.org. C, we're providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please call 978-482-7394 or email at helpdesk@sau17.net. D, we are adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during the meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Okay, we can start with Mr. Angel.
Yeah, I'm Matthew Angel. I'm the business administrator. I'm at my office at the SAU building in Kingston, and there's no one here.
Hey, I'm in a meeting. I call you back, okay? Bye.
Okay, Ms. Sear.
Mary Sear, the at-large member. I'm in my home in Kingston, and although I am alone presently, I can't guarantee that people won't try to come in and out of this room, even though I've locked it off. But I am alone presently.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy?
James McCarthy, I'm present, and I'm a Newton member, board member, and here in my basement alone. But that can't be guaranteed that that'll remain the way. Kids can come up and down and go into their playroom, but that's about it.
Okay, Ms. Matias?
Hi, Vanessa Matias. I'm the Kingston one-year seat member. I am currently alone, but echoing everybody else's sentiments that I can't guarantee that with the kids in the house, they won't walk by at some point.
Ms. Mahoney?
Tammy Mahoney, school board rep to the budget committee. I'm in my home in a room by myself.
Thank you. And Ms. Bashaw?
Maura Bashaw, I'm Kingston member for the 3-year seat. I'm in my home, currently alone, but same as other people, I can't guarantee that nobody else will walk in the room.
Thank you. Ms. Collier?
Hi, Annie Collier, member from Newton, and I am in my home office alone.
Thank you. Ms. Kuzmitsky?
Yes, Christine Kosmitsky, newly elected board member from Newton. I am home alone in my home.
Thank you. And Mr. Edelman?
Good evening, Rick Edelman, member Kingston, 3 years, alone, home office.
Thank you. And I'm Phyllis Kennedy, district clerk, and I'm home in Exeter, home alone at this time. Thank you. Okay, we can begin the meeting by asking, is there a motion for a chair?
I move we elect Jim McCarthy.
Okay, is there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Who's that? I'm sorry.
That was Rick, I think.
Yeah, Rick Edelman.
Okay, thank you. Discussion? None? Okay, so we'll take a roll call vote for that. And let's see, Ms. Sear. How do you?
Aye.
Okay.
Is that what you want? Aye?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. McCarthy
Aye.
and Ms. Matias,
Aye.
Ms. Mahoney
Yes.
and Ms. Bashaw.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Collier.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Kuzmitsky.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Edelman.
Yes.
Okay, that is unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you.
And I will leave the meeting.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Phyllis.
much,
Phyllis.
Phyllis.
Okay, bye-bye now. Have a good meeting.
Bye.
Okay, Jim, have fun.
Emmy, you're too happy.
All right, so let's try and do this without mucking it up. All right, so the approval for minutes of
We want to
January
elect
9th,
vice
You need
chair.
to elect a
14th,
vice
and
chair.
February 5th.
Elect-
Oh, sorry, my bad. There we go again. All right, so now we need a nomination for the vice chair. And
I'm
anybody?
going to nominate Moira.
Okay,
Okay, I'll accept.
I'll second that.
Great.
Okay, and roll call on that?
Yes.
We'll
Go.
start off.
Yeah, you call the names.
I'm just gonna go by the way it shows up on my screen, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna say an aye for that. Then Tammy,
Yes.
okay, and then Vanessa,
Yes.
okay, and then Mary,
Yes.
okay, Maura,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
yes, Annie,
Yes.
and then Rick.
Yes.
All right, so it is unanimous that Maura Bashaw is the vice chair.
Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
All right, so sorry about that part. So now we go ahead to the approval of the minutes for January 9th, 14th, and February 5th.
Okay,
Um,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
the agenda is wrong. We did approve the 9th. They just weren't posted on the website yet. They are posted now. So we did that on the 14th. Mary was good enough to point that out. So we
Yeah.
don't have to reapprove them.
yeah, I looked at that, and when I looked this afternoon, probably like 2 hours ago, they weren't there. Did they just go up recently, or am I,
I
did
don't,
I not see?
I know Judy Schaefer emailed them to Phyllis, and I'm sure she'll get them up.
Okay, yeah, that's follow up on that. And then now, February 5th.
We have to do the 14th.
Right, I thought I had something.
We haven't approved the 14th. We did approve the 9th.
We didn't approve the 14th. I thought I had that. No, wait a minute. My notes. Okay, on the 14th, we approved the 9th, right, but it's not shown. Okay. All right.
I move to approve the minutes of January 14th.
Second,
Second. Okay, so those are approved. And has anybody had a chance to review the minutes for the 5th? The after deliberative, the follow-up meeting, the follow-up notes to that meeting?
Jim, I'm sorry, point of order. We need to vote on approving those minutes on that motion.
a motion,
You'll
had a
get it.
motion and a second, and now it's discussion.
Discussion
Right.
and then vote to approve.
All right. So is there anybody who wants to have a discussion for the minutes for the 14th? No? Okay, vote to approve. Motion to approve, sorry.
Do the roll call.
Okay, myself approved. Yay. Tammy?
Abstain. I wasn't a member then.
Okay. Vanessa?
Yay. Yeah, I approve.
Mary?
Yes,
Maura?
Yes.
Annie?
Yes.
Christine?
I was not a member at that time.
Okay, so 2 abstains, and Rick?
I'll abstain as well.
Okay, so we have 5 approvals and 3 abstains, so minutes are approved. All right. And so now we will go through the February 5th minutes. Does anybody have anything to discuss about them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 5th.
Okay,
I'll second.
second it. All right. So the 5th, myself, yay. Tammy?
Abstain.
Okay. Vanessa?
I vote to approve. Yes.
Okay. And then Mary?
yes,
Maura?
Yes.
Annie?
Yes.
Okay. And Christine?
I was not a member at that time.
Okay, so abstain. And Rick?
I'll-
Yourself abstain?
I'll abstain. Yep.
Say that. All right, so the meeting minutes for February 5th have been approved. All right. Okay, what am I missing there?
You're going great.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So now, the budget calendar approval. Has everybody had a chance to review the budget calendar? Anyone?
I
Yes.
not. I apologize.
Okay.
If I could, oh, Matt had his hand up first.
Oh,
I was going to
sorry.
say, I pulled it together. It's based on last year's. Matt reviewed it and Tom too, I believe, but it's the DRA has not yet put out their formal requirements of when meetings have to take place. So it's a preliminary. It's probably going to be the case. It's probably going to be good because the dates aren't that much different from this past year. And it's basically the same outline of what we've done in the past, which is look at the past between now and September, review it with the administration in October, and then start working on the new budget in November. So it's pretty much the same outline as we've had in the past. And, if everyone wants to continue, then that would be the same thing. Otherwise, we can change it.
Okay, Vanessa, you have a question?
Sorry, I just reviewed it very quickly. The only date that concerns me is July 2nd, only because it's the day before July 3rd. And I think that that could be just a tricky week for some people. I don't know if it has to be, if there's a certain timeline, but I'm just concerning that that's the day before a long weekend. So,
July.
Is that just the uploading of a file? That's just saying that the file is
That's not
available for
me.
review.
Yeah. That's just that's not a meeting.
okay.
That's dates for anybody who hasn't read it is it's the unaudited 5-year fiscal year 15 through 16 through fiscal year 19 to 20. Budget versus actual available for budget committee review. Audited version of the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 available in September normally. So
Gotcha.
there's no meeting being called for on July 2nd.
Okay.
The next meeting wouldn't be until Thursday, October 15th.
Is that
Okay.
even a meeting? Or is that one? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay.
October 15th.
Yep.
Yeah, that's to review the budget
Yep.
questions.
Sorry.
That's fine. I'm gonna be calling on you for a lot of help. So we're
Move
waiting
to
on the
approve the
DRA
budget calendar.
for further information to finalize.
Move to approve budget
Okay.
calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, move to approve the budget calendar. Okay. All right. Matt,
I wouldn't.
Matt, what's up?
I would recommend not approving it at this moment and just leave it as a tentative calendar until the DRA comes up with their. Otherwise, you're going to have to go through and approve the calendar again. Your choice.
Okay,
All right.
I'll withdraw.
So do you make
Okay.
a friendly amendment to
All right. So,
tentatively approve or just leave it?
I kind of, sorry.
go ahead, Danny.
I feel like it's good to have something as just kind of a guideline of what direction we're going in, and it gives us a communication with the school board about what direction we want to go in. We're not going to meet again until October 15th. So I'd like us to approve it as a tentative, as Mary just suggested. And then if we have to go in and revise it, we can do that. It's not that big a deal. I just think it gives us a track to run on. So I'd like to keep it going. And I'd like Tammy to remove her withdrawal.
I unwithdraw. I reinstate my motion.
Okay. All right. So a motion to approve the calendar for the next budget season.
Want to go through the roll call?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, yeah, she read it.
All right. Myself is aye. All right. Here we go. Tammy,
Yes,
yay, nay?
yay.
Okay. Vanessa?
Yay.
Okay. Mary?
Yes?
Maura?
Yeah.
Okay. Annie?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. Okay. Christine?
Yes.
Okay. And then Rick?
Yes.
Okay. Budget calendar is approved.
Yay.
All right. So now, Mr. Angel, you're off.
Okay. I'm going to take over your screen, so it's going to jump here for a second. All right. And I'm slow at this. So can you see the presentation?
Sure can.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I try to do is pull together first some laws that govern the budget process, and then I also want to bring out some of the source material that I use to try to pull together the budget. So you guys have an idea of, so you can review the material so let's start this off. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that this is not a complete guide. It's just for reference, just for this particular presentation. So we're going to start off here at the top.
Holy smokes. I'm sorry, I'm on my phone. I can't see it, but I'll play along.
It's a PDF file so that we can share that with you. Okay?
Thank you.
So we first start off, and it's in order by RSA chapter. Okay, so the first one is RSA chapter 32, which is the Municipal Budget Law. The first one that I want to point out is RSA 32:5 Roman numeral number 3. And it just says that all appropriations recommendations shall be stipulated on a gross basis, showing the anticipated revenue from all sources, which shall be shown as offsetting revenues to appropriations. That means that whatever I do for presenting the budget, I have to show revenues gross from expenditures. I can't net them together. If I were to do that, it would essentially hide activity from taxpayers. Okay. The next one is RSA 32:7, which is lapse of appropriation. So there are different kinds of budget authorizations. That you're going to be working on is really a 1-year authorization for the school district to expend funds starting on July 1st and ending June 30th of the following year. Now, there are other types of appropriations that we have that don't necessarily have a lapsing portion. For example, grants don't necessarily have a lapsing portion. They lapse when the grant is due or when it finalizes. And also construction projects have a much longer lapsing period. It's I believe it's up to 5 years. Next is another one that I just want to point out. It's a statute governing collective bargaining agreements, and that's RSA 32:19 that requires the bargaining agreement to be separate from the operating budget. It has to be approved by the district meeting. Basically, the district meeting is accepting the CBA agreement that was negotiated. The next one is RSA 32:22, which is review of expenditures. This one would be interesting for the budget committee because this authorized review of the district's expenditures. And we're going to be going through that later on in the meeting. Now we're going to different chapters. This one is RSA 35, which deals with capital reserve funds. And this is different than an expendable trust fund. However, they operate very similarly. And basically, these are like savings accounts. So if you were to look at the way that the finances for the district are, the general fund is like a checkbook, and then the capital reserve funds and expendable trusts are like savings accounts. The first one is RSA 35:1, which deals with the establishment of the reserve. We need a school district meeting to establish a reserve and also to designate a party to expend. If they choose a school board, then the school board has authority to expend funds without further approval by the district meeting. The second one here is RSA 35:5, which is payments into the fund. They have to be approved by a district meeting and paid into the fund. And then RSA 35:15, expenditures. It describes how funds can be expended from a capital reserve fund. So we just can't arbitrarily draw funds from the capital reserve fund and expend it. We need authority from the school board or from the district to expend funds. The next one is RSA 197, meetings and officers. I wanted to point out RSA 97:6, which is warrants and articles. This describes a process for petition warrant articles. We've had a petition warrant article for the last 2 years. I think it's probably appropriate just to review that one. I'm just going to skim it over right now, but cruise that one at the future. So the next one is this chapter, RSA chapter 197, school money. This one has a whole bunch of different important sections in it. However, for the budget committee, I think the first one that's going to be important is RSA 198:4B, which is the Contingency Fund. This allows the school district to retain up to 2.5% of its unassigned fund balance, or it's 2.5% of the current year's net assessment. The net assessment is your budgeted revenues minus your appropriations. The net result, we can take 2.5% of that and retain it instead of giving it back to the taxpayers as a reduction to the tax rate. Now, the reason why that this is important is because we're going to have a discussion on it, well, later on in this meeting, but also at the school board level when we talk about the tax rate, because the school board can do essentially 3 things out of it. The first one is they can retain it. The second one is they can use it to reduce the tax rate. And the third purpose they can use it for are emergency expenditures. Emergency expenditures is a very hard hurdle to jump. They have to have approval of not only the school board, the budget committee, the Department of Education, and the Department of Revenue. All right. So the next one is RSA 198:20-C. This is creating a trust fund for a specific purpose, expenditures, and administration. So as I said above, there's the capital reserve funds, which is one of your savings types of accounts. This one here is your other one. And often we call it the Expendable Trust Fund. And what you would find in that one would be like special education. So we fund it the same way. We draw down funds on the same way as capital reserve funds. Now, another source of information on or guidance for the school district are the administrative code. So if you were to look at this, the written laws of New Hampshire, you have the state's constitution, then you have the revised statutes, and then you have the administrative code, which is what the agencies have to follow. Well, the Department of Revenue Administration has put information in here that we have to follow for our accounting process. And I'm going to be going over some of those codes that the DRA has specified later in this presentation. So I'm going to switch to the next one. Okay, so here's some guidance and source documents. I've broken it out by state of New Hampshire. The first one is the Financial Accounting Handbook. This is a guide that that we use to make sure that we're reporting all the accounting material to the Department of Education in accordance to the rules that they're created. The next one are financial reports. That one there is really great information.
Matt, are you supposed to be showing us something? Because it's still the purple screen, the initial screen. Is there another screen you wanted to show us?
Oh, it didn't pop up.
I have it.
I have
I
it.
have it.
The guide source documents is what I'm looking at.
It says resources
The
for
purple-
topics.
You see the purple links?
Yeah.
Yep.
You do? Okay. So, Jim, it might be that your screen isn't refreshing that particular.
Oh, there we go. It just refreshed now.
Oh, good. Okay.
So the Department of Education puts out financial reports. Let me see if I can bring it up and put it up on the screen so you can see it. And I'll pop it over here. So can you see that?
No.
Nope.
No? Anyways, so in the financial reports, it has cost per pupil by district. I'm going to scroll on down. It has estimated expenditures of school districts. So there's great information where you can compare the school district to other school districts, okay? The next one is state adequate education aid. I have to go and look at this particular link to find out how much we're going to get with adequate ed, and they update that in actually I think it's updated now. I can get an estimated number, and then they're going to finalize it later on in like October, November.
About how much is that, Matt?
What, adequate ed?
Yeah.
We get about 3 million from that, and it's really broken up into two pieces. One of them is a grant, the other one is a statewide property tax.
Thank you.
Okay, so then the last one here is data reports. This would be statistical data reports like the average daily membership or the number of students that are attending school and so on. So I'm going to switch to the next page. All right, so here's some other resources. There's 3 school board policies that are of interest. You have DBC, budget preparation, DI, fiscal accounting and reporting, DIA, fund balances. The fund balance one is more definitional than it is guidance. It will define, when I talk about assigned fund balance, unassigned fund balance, committed fund balance, it gives definition as to what each of those means. Other accounting guidance would be Governmental Accounting Standards Board. I don't expect you guys to read any of the material there. It's out there. The other one is Association of School Business Officials. And then finally, Government Finance Officers Association. If you look at the GFOA, you'll find best practices, which is, they're a great resource for that. And that one, I didn't put the link in, but it's gfoa.org. Okay, the next screen. Now, I tried to give a little bit of wisdom as to how the financial statements are broken out, or how we present the information. When I present the budget to you, it's going to be more or less in a single column, but it's really broken up into multiple funds. And each fund is like a separate business. So think of the school district as having like 5 businesses that's all consolidated together, where the general fund, and I'm going to start reading this off. So there's 3 fund types. There's governmental funds, there's business type funds, and then there's fiduciary funds. The general fund is the first one that I've listed under governmental funds. This is the default fund. So pretty much everything operates out of the general fund, and it accounts for our day-to-day activities. And that's when we're doing the appropriations, most of it resides in the general fund. And the next one that goes under governmental funds are special revenue funds. These are state, federal, local grants. And we also track other like small gifts out of this that have specific restrictions to it. So when we get a grant, they're going to say, you have to take the revenue that we receive and spend it for this particular purpose. Now, several RSAs that are applicable to this, and one of them is RSA 198:20B, and that deals with accepting of special revenue funds. There's 2 ways to do it. One way is to include it in your annual operating budget. The other one is to accept it as unanticipated revenue through the school board. And every once in a while, you'll see the school board accepting a grant. And I believe 198:20B is that unanticipated revenue. Now I'm going to skip to business type of funds. We don't have any with the school district. Typically, you'll find business type funds with a town, and an example there would be just for operations. This is where the town will provide a service in exchange for revenue. Finally, our fiduciary funds, and I have 3 of them listed here. However, some of the governmental accounting standards boards have changed how this is reported. I'm kind of reporting it the way it used to be because it's simpler this way. The first one is scholarships. When someone donates money to the district for student scholarships, it's held in trust, where the donor gives it. We have to turn it over to the trustees of trust funds, and then we select who's going to get the scholarship per the donor's restrictions, and then hand it off to the school of the student. Finally, sorry, the second one there is student activity funds. Student activity funds is when the school charges for a student to go on like a field trip, and all the costs are associated in there. And so it's really money raised by students for students. Now, and then finally, the capital reserve fund and expendable trust funds. Now, on this particular screen right here, what you're going to find as part of the budget committee, or being presented to you as part of the budget committee, are really the general fund, most of the special revenue funds, and the capital reserve fund and expendable trust fund, but only the addition to the capital reserve fund or expendable trust. All others have statutes that allow the district to expend without further appropriation. Okay. So here's some concepts, and one of the things that I want to get across to people is the idea that we're really trying to track the sources and uses of funds. And if you think along those lines, the expenditure reports will make a lot more sense. Governmental accounting is not like business accounting. There's no depreciation, there's no capital assets, there's no long-term debt. Those are held elsewhere, okay? So what we're trying to do is when we issue debt, we record that as a revenue, or it's really another financing source, but it's a revenue-like transaction. And then when we buy a truck, it shows up as an expenditure. So some of this, here's some examples for sources. State and local real estate tax assessment. Basically, we assess the towns on a schedule what we're going to raise in taxation, and taxation through the local tax rate and through the state tax rate. The second one is local sources. And I'll have examples in another slide of what these are. And then state sources. State sources would be like building aid. And then federal sources. We may get some grants that are going to be budgeted. Now, I'm going to give you a little nuance here. Because of COVID-19, we're going to be applying for some federal grants. And those are going to have to be accepted through unanticipated revenue, and they would show up in our revenue reports as federal sources. There won't be a budget associated with them because they weren't approved at district meeting. So now if we move on to uses, the uses are really broken out into two different groups. And when you look at the account structure, these two numbers are merged together. So you're going to see the function code as one segment, and then the object code is another segment. And really the expenditures are broken out by function first. And the first one is instruction, support services. The second one, operation of non-instructional services, facilities acquisition and construction, and then other outlays. Now, I want to point out all of these are specified by the Department of Revenue Administration in their administrative code. I have to follow them, okay? Now, if we go down to the object code, this is a different way of sorting the same information. So I'm able to go in here and I'm able to go into the accounting system and sort the data by personal services for salaries, personal services for employee benefits, purchase professional and technical services. So I can take any of this data and say, you know, how much are we paying for salaries for the year? And I can give you X. And then if you want to say, how much are you paying for heating oil? I should be able to go into supplies and material under the 600 series here and pull up heating oil. And then we also have property, and then other objects and other uses of funds. So this screen right here, this is just something where I'm breaking out the revenues by fund and by, it's interesting, I can see someone's writing, I wrote a mark over my screen. So this is breaking it out by fund, which is the columns, okay? And then by revenue source. You can see that the first one there under the revenue is the state and local revenue tax assessment. And I've broken out Kingston and Newton. And I've combined in this particular schedule both the state and local share of the taxes. Okay. Now, then under the local sources, we have tuition, earnings on investments, food service sales, and other local services. Now, use of fund balance is a tricky one for people to understand. Okay, basically what we're doing is we're budgeting for a net income loss. Okay, it's good for government to have to lose money. Okay, otherwise we would be constantly keeping money all the time, and we would become that theoretical bank. Okay, so what we've done is we're assuming that we're going to use 400,000 of fund balance to reduce the tax rate. Then we go down to state sources. The first one is adequate education, and Annie, there's your 3.3 million.
Yeah, my question was really how much is it per child these days versus our 23,500 we spend on kids?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me. I know I can get it.
Okay.
All right. The next one is school building aid. So back when the high school was built, the district got state aid to pay for debt service for the high school. We're receiving, right? Well, this particular year we're receiving, next fiscal year we're receiving 515,000 toward debt service. Now it's an amortization schedule that declines each and every year, and it's going to end in 2026. We also have special education aid, and then down to federal sources, you'll see I don't have any federal sources for the general fund, but I have federal sources for food service and for the grant fund. Okay, so when we're pulling the budget together, make sure that the revenues equal by fund type. Okay, so there should be expenditures in the general fund for 35,356,000, and also food service should have expenditures of 576,000, and the grant fund should also have expenditures of 740,000, for a total of 36,673,000. Okay, does that make sense? Do you have any questions on that? Because the funds are usually the difficult thing for people to kind of wrap their heads around.
I had, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, oh, sorry, Annie, go ahead.
I had a question on the 2.5% on the fiscal year net assessment. What is the fiscal year net assessment for the current year? Do you have that number approximately, Matt?
I do. And, it's kind of interesting to have these meetings with my laptop like this and being able to find the data. Let's see, budget.
Matt, I think you have a writer on instead of a pointer.
No, that's not it.
No, I thought that was.
That's coming from someone else's screen.
Oh.
Okay, so I don't have it handy. Recalculate it, but I can recalculate it really quickly. I can calculate it right there. $677,000.
Okay, 677,000. So what that means, as I understand it, and tell me if this is right, is that is the most that the school board could decide to retain, to hold instead of giving back as a tax credit for the coming year. Is that right?
Correct? That's correct.
So 677,000. And the other thing is, last year they retained 400,000, which is that 400,000 on the use of fund balance.
Yes.
I just think it's really important for us to understand and for the public to understand that if that isn't used under those stringent guidelines that you outlined, then it has to go back the following year as a tax credit. And if the school board this year decided to hold as much as 677,000 and they didn't use it, then that would also have to go back as a tax credit the following year. Is that correct?
I'm not sure about the whether they're required to, I'm trying to look it up, whether they're required to, I'm sorry, whether it lapses every year. What I recommend to all the school boards is to reapprove it every year. And
but it would be out of the current year's budget, not out of the prior year's budget, if they did it.
if they did it, it's going to affect the tax rate in November, December.
Okay, agreed. It's just a question of which bucket it's coming out of. It's the 400,000 came out of a year ago's leftover unexpended funds.
Yes.
Up to 677,000 or 400, if they were to approve that again, would come out of this year's current unexpended funds, and then would go back, and then whatever they did next year out of whatever is left in the budget would be next year's money.
Mr. Ambrose has a question or a comment. Gordon.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute myself. I'm sorry. My understanding is that the 400,000 that's been withheld will go back this year, and then the board would vote to withhold an amount for next year. So my understanding is that Annie is correct, but for the public, Matt will review that and get back to you.
I have it right here. It says that it shall do it annually.
Annually.
Okay.
Annually.
So Annie, you are correct.
Okay. Because I think one of the things that was really important that came to me when I was looking at a lot of the Facebook posts at election time was people didn't seem to understand that that was taxpayer money that was there for an emergency, really an unusual emergency that had to be approved to be spent at multiple levels. And if not, it's owned by the taxpayers and it goes back to the taxpayers. The only way to keep money in the school is to pass a warrant article to fund a reserve account.
Yeah.
Tom, Mr. Ambrose is in agreement with that. Sorry, he gave me a thumbs up on the screen, so I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry, I keep forgetting. It's evening and my kids are doing the kid thing. So yes, Annie, I would agree with what you just said. And that is precisely why I have been encouraging the district to grow the reserve accounts, because the reserve accounts do two things for us. They allow us to carry money over from year to year, and they allow us to deal with unanticipated issues with board approval so that it's very transparent to the public where the money is. Our goal is to grow the 3 different reserve accounts, one for regular ed, one for special ed is at about 240,000, and then one for capital problems such as the roof on Memorial that just went. That way in the future, if the budget gets low, we'll have money for emergencies that we don't have to take out of the end of the year leftover money. The goal is to pare the budget down so that there isn't so much money left over at the end of the year.
So the goal, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Annie. Yeah, I got to scroll through, so.
Sorry.
Yeah,
So,
he can only see 4 people at once, just so you know.
so the goal is basically to fund these reserve accounts to get to the point like you, Jim, were referring to last year when in a budget committee meeting where you said, ideally we'd have $1.5 million in reserve accounts and, that kind of thing. The goal is to kind of build up gradually to get there. And it has to be done by warrant article approved by the voters at election time.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So Jim, can I ask a question? I just want to, Vanessa.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Vanessa.
so essentially, if there is 677,000 left over, somebody could make a warrant article proposal to move that money into these different funds, because that is money that's essentially left over. No, that's not right.
No, it has to be done at the through the town meeting process, through the
Okay.
budget process.
Yeah, that's gonna go in, that's gonna be voted on.
That's right, just the way we did it last year. So we put in one for 50,000 and the community raised it to 100. So now we're adding 100 to that account, which is a really prudent way to do it. But the way that they did it is they made it so that we would save the $100 the 100,000 at the end of the year out of the unexpended fund. So Vanessa, it did what you just wanted, but it did it in a slightly different series of steps than what you just outlined. The series of steps were a warrant article was created and then discussed at the town meeting and then put on the ballot and voted on. It once the school board holds the money at the end of the year from the unexpended fund, that amount has to go back to taxpayers at the end of the next year. But you have to remember that that's a really positive situation because the money at the end of next year, it offsets what we save at the end of next year. So the best way to do this is to do what we did this year when we passed the warrant article to keep adding to the revolving funds. That worked perfectly, and that's the mechanism for doing so.
Can I jump in and do some definitions here? Because I think the language is a little tough.
Go ahead, Matt.
When Superintendent Ambrose spoke about the unexpended fund, what he means is it's like the net income of a business. That is going to go into retained earnings, and retained earnings is the unexpended fund. In governmental accounting, we just call it's unassigned or unexpended funds, okay? Now, the way the school district works, the net income has to go back to the taxpayers to reduce the tax rate. However, the school board can set aside some of the net income into the contingency fund, but they have to approve that annually, okay? So to fund the capital reserves, like Vanessa said, it would have to come from the unexpended or unassigned fund balance. You can't jump from the 2.5% or contingency fund to the capital reserve. And I guess you could do it, but it would take some hurdles to jump through at the school board. Stringing stuff together is entertaining.
Mary, I saw you had your hand up, or did you have something to say, Mary? Or,
I do not.
okay, I thought I saw your hand up a little ago. Okay.
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 Jim?
Yes.
It's Annie. I had one other thing that I thought was pretty interesting was the going back to your slide that you had, Matt, on the revenues, where you showed Kingston tax contribution a lot higher than Newton's. And that's because 56% of the kids in the schools are from Kingston and 44% are from Newton. But Newton's tax rate is a lot higher because we've got a lot fewer people paying that amount.
All right. Do we want to jump into that? That's the tax impact of. You see an Excel spreadsheet?
No.
Not yet.
Yes.
No?
No.
Not yet.
Taking a minute to
refresh.
yeah.
Can I step in here for a minute? I would like, Vanessa, could you do me a favor and go to full screen on your viewing and then go down to participants, click on that and hit raise hand for me? I'm scrolling through images to see if people are.
It says I'm in full screen.
Right. So now if you go down to the bottom screen, all the way down, the pop-up menu shows up. And it will say 11 participants.
Yeah.
You click on that.
Yeah.
And then it says raise hand. Do you see that?
I clicked on it. Yeah, it says it's raised. Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to see if I can see that if anybody else does, or if it's just Matt.
Who's the host of the meeting?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Who's the host of the meeting? Who's actually hosting this Zoom meeting?
Gordon.
I am. Yep.
So yeah, it's kind of
He probably
what I
sees
thought
it.
it was gonna be.
Yeah.
Okay, experiment's over then.
Yeah.
Were you able to see us, Jim?
I can, yeah, if I minimize the presentation, I can see 4 people across the top, so I get to scroll back and forth
Okay, yeah.
to try and while Matt was talking, I took the opportunity to go see about raising for a hand raise
Oh,
thing.
no,
But
Jim, you
I
know what you can do?
suspected that Gordon, what is,
Jim, you know what you can do? So you know the 4-screen thing?
yeah,
Clicked, there's a little box, like a Rubik's Cube looking box. I click that to change my window. And then I literally just clicked the corner and dragged it down. And now I can see all the participants.
Oh, yeah.
So they're at the top of just the 4 screens. You can click the top left. There's a little Rubik's Cube. Just click the corner and drag it.
Right. Anyone on a PC can adjust that view. Anybody mobile, I think, is kind of stuck with the swiping.
yeah, I'm on the Chromebook, and this is, I got enter full screen or exit full screen are my options, and then in settings I can't do anything different.
Oh, no, this is above the people. So right above that box of 4 people on the right-hand side, there's a couple, again, it's on mine, so it might be different. Maybe it's what Rick was saying. You know, right above the people, there's a little, when I move my cursor, it pops up a little box and there's a little Rubik's Cube looking thing, but.
Here, let's see if I can put it on my screen. Can you see?
Yeah, I was just trying to
on my
see.
screen? You see that little box right there? Can you see it on my screen?
My Chromebook's taking a beating from all video, so it's slowed down, so it doesn't react. It takes like 3 minutes for one of your screen changes to show up. So.
Oh, okay. So why don't I jump back to my presentation and finish?
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
go ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
you do.
All right. So, oops,
Lost it.
I lost it. All right. I want to quickly go through figure out how to do this again. And I want this one right here. Okay. Share. So this is the, what I'm trying to show you is the Finance Committee meetings from last night. And I just want to kind of go through some of the numbers with you so you guys can get a general sense of where we stand financially. Because there was a request for me to go through this. The first one was to show, I'm going to have to flip through some screens here. Oh, it's going to be hard. Okay. The first one is the expenditure report for health insurance. So through the end of March, we've expended $2.9 million. We've incurred $1.6 million, and there's $413,000 remaining. Now, what encumbrance is, it's a reservation of the appropriation. So when you're doing the budget for the budget committee, you're actually building the appropriations that we follow during the year. And an encumbrance is just a reservation of that budget money that we're going to expend in the future, okay? Or that we've committed. So that's the first one. The second one here, this is what we've spent for non-health insurance. And this would be salaries, other benefits, supplies, materials, heating oil, debt service. So we've spent through the end of March, $19,450,000. We've encumbered $8,978,000, and we have remaining $1.6 million left in the budget. Now, typically at year end, that 1.6 million would be used to reduce the tax rate for the following year. Now, what's not accounted for yet are projects that that are coming up, such as doing the bathroom for the new middle school. And I'm expecting that to be about, I don't want to say that publicly, because the bid is still outstanding on that one. But when we start using the funds that we haven't encumbered yet, you'll see that $1.6 million decline. Okay, so at year end, what you're going to find is you're going to take this this report and the health insurance report, and the remaining amount is what we're going to return back to the taxpayers of unspent appropriations. All right.
So if I could feed back to you what I'm hearing, you've got 1.6 million out of everything but health insurance. You've got about 400,000 out of health insurance. So there's about $2 million unaccounted for right now that's available to be used to fund things like the rest of the construction for the middle school and things like that. Anything else that comes up between now and June 30th.
Yes.
Then out of that money, that could all go back to the taxpayers in addition to the 400,000 from last year, or it could all go back minus as much as 677,000, depending on what the school board decides.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That would tend to tell me that our taxes aren't going to go up for the schools this coming year.
Hey, Gordon, can you unmute the superintendent?
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would agree. I just want everyone to understand that there's a lot to pay for. We have the memorial roof, the bathroom at the middle school that needs to be built, a locker room that needs to be addressed, paving at the high school, the science rooms need water, and the board needs to have a conversation about the memorial office, because I think we're also going to do that. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to close out some windows here. Now, one of the other questions that was brought up was the tax impact. So basically, one of the questions was how much fund balance would be returned to result in a zero tax increase to the taxpayers. And the closest I can get it is about 850,000, and it would result in a 6 cents increase to Kingston and a 5 cent decrease to Newton. So that would mean we're going to release the 400,000 that we have in the contingency fund plus 850,000 to reduce the tax rate.
If the school board decides that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to close this one out, and I got a list of things here. Let's see if this one is the next one. Okay, so this is the monthly budget revenue, and I ran this, let's see if there's a date on it. I ran this in the middle of April, and what this is showing is over the far left-hand column right here is the budgeted revenue. The middle column is what we've actually recorded as revenue. And then the far right-hand column is the amount remaining. Now, Kingston and Newton, we've recorded it at its entire balance because we expect to receive all of it. However, we're still owed the months, I believe, for May and June. Both Kingston and Newton are current with their payments. And the towns have always been very good about their payments. Now, revenues are always reported in the negative number, which is always counterintuitive. But if you look at the amount remaining column, anything that's a positive number means it's going to increase fund balance and it's going to make money available to reduce the tax rate. Anything that's negative means that we didn't hit our budgeted target. So let's see, preschool, we haven't hit our revenue target yet for the preschool tuition. Fremont tuition, we have one more billing that we have to do, which is going to be in June. We're expecting about 960,000 per the budget. I believe it's going to be just over $1 million. Let's see, earnings on investment. So far, we're beating the budget by $1,327. I'm going to skip down. Let's see, adequate education came in higher than what was estimated back in November. We received an additional 174,000. School building aid, we haven't received the final payment for that. I anticipate that to go to 0 in the remaining column. Catastrophic aid, we received 75,000 more than what we budgeted. And then the other two aids, let's see, vocational transportation, and then Medicare we zeroed out last year because the state changed all the regulations and how that's being billed. We've only collected $2,300. Last year at this time, we probably collected about 75,000. All right, so we're on target for revenues. Oh, I just want to point out, this is that, I'm gonna go right to the bottom. That 1,013,000, that's governmental accounting, and we're throwing in the use of fund balance as a revenue source. So basically, we're recording this, again, this is like budgeting for net income loss. And what we do is we just, to balance out the budget, we put in a budget amount there, but in the actual column, you can see it's a 0. We will not get any money for this. So,
Do we lose Matt?
I think so.
I think we lost Matt.
Yeah.
Don't worry, he'll be back. I don't have a Terminator background, so I can't.
I'll be back.
Okay.
Jim, I sent you a text at that screen just so you could see what I was referring to.
Oh, Matt's
okay.
computer died. Matt's
Oh,
rebooting,
no.
he said.
Oh,
His
no.
computer just stopped.
Oh,
All right, I'm going to take this moment to go grab a sweatshirt as the basement's kind of chilly. I will be right back.
Nice to see all of you. I'll just take a minute to say hi. Welcome, Christine.
Welcome to you as well.
I apologize about my attire. I was outside taking care of some things and then ran in, so I didn't have a chance to fix my do tonight. Rick, welcome aboard. How are you, Rick?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Nice to see you this evening. Thank you for joining us for our first meeting this year. Matt is back.
All right, so am I.
Matt needs to be unmuted.
Gordon.
Oh, sorry.
You can mute me, Gordon. Just keep Matt.
There we go.
I'm sorry, my computer just decided to reboot itself.
Ah.
All right, so let's see. I think I've spoken about each of the different items on this list. Is there any question that you want to ask me?
You're sharing the list, you said, right? Are you sharing that with us after?
The list that I have is from Annie.
Oh.
And let's see.
Mr. Ambrose?
Thanks,
Question?
Jim. Thanks, Chairman. Congratulations.
Thanks.
I did want to say that I wanted to know, if I were a new budget committee member at the Sanborn Regional School District, I would like to know, is there a beginner's guide to municipal budgeting or school budgeting that I could look at as a reference for core questions? I know, having looked at these documents myself, the guide that you can get from the state is not a beginner's guide or a primer. It's just goes right into the details. Matt, is there a simple text that we could get for our budget committee to help them?
I can get something from the New Hampshire Municipal Association, which is really designed for towns, and that will go over basic budgeting, but it's really geared towards towns. I believe that if we were to get it for each of the budget committee members, it would be perfect because concepts are the same.
Okay, is that expensive, Matt?
No.
Would you all like a copy?
Yes, very much.
All right, we'll get you one.
I can tell
Mary,
you,
would you like one?
I can tell you that a few years ago, Newton arranged for some of us to go to that New Hampshire Municipal Association. But since then, it's been found that because we're a cooperative school district, it's just not permitted. We can't be a part of it. So it'd be really great. It was very valuable. It was very valuable training, and that would be a really great resource. Thanks, Matt.
Well, we could also bring in, I don't think we need to bring someone else in for training because we have Magic Matt, but we need a book would be great. So we'll order you all a copy. And if anyone doesn't want one or already has one, just send Matt an email, please, so we don't order extras.
Thank you very much.
Mine's like 5 years old, so.
We'll get you a new one.
Okay, that's all I've got.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
So moving on to the committee comments. We'll start off the screen as I see it. Myself is first in the upper left-hand corner. What would you folks like to do regarding the COVID-19 situation that the whole world's in right now, and how that affects our plans for the budget for the year that's in session and the next year? It's really made a big change where the money is being spent.
Lose it, can't hear you.
But where it's not being spent this year, and where it's going to end up being spent for next year. Can't hear me, huh?
Yeah, I can't hear
I
you.
didn't catch all of that.
Can't hear
I
you.
caught enough to give you an overview. What Jim asked is what really is the essence, Jim. Please give me a thumbs up if I got this correct. Jim said what's going to happen with regard to finances and the impact of COVID-19. Is that it, Jim? Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you a little better now.
Okay.
I want the public to understand that you good, Jim?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
Mr. Ambrose.
Thank you. We don't know what's going to happen yet. We don't know. We are going to have problems with revenue from the state government. We are going to have problems because the state gets most of their taxes from real estate taxes and taxes on service industries, like people who go to restaurants, rent hotel rooms, concerts, things like that. And none of those events are occurring right now. So we don't know because we don't know how long we're going to stay in this state of not having social events. And even when we do have social events, I think that it'll be interesting to see what the response is, whether or not it's limited or different. We have no idea what things are going to look like next year for school opening. And there are all kinds of models out there. And honestly, I am not comfortable sharing any of that information until we're closer, because I think it's just too hard to tell when you're dealing with something this complex. We've already seen a number of different projections that have come in wrong. Yeah. I will say that it is really important for everyone to recognize that Matt and I are being very, very conservative with money right now. Very. The budget is frozen. No one buys anything unless Matt and I directly approve it. And we will probably recommend to the school board to hold the maximum amount possible in the event that we have a shortfall in taxation next year, because the problem isn't whether or not the budget's been appropriated. The problem is whether or not the communities can collect the taxes from people who don't have income.
True.
So I'm not trying to say the sky is falling, but I'm saying that, you know, the wise way to handle this is to be very, very careful and aware of everything and work collaboratively to solve problems and to spend as little money as possible. The one good thing is that the reorganization is going exceptionally well, and we do have funds from that process that will help to offset this situation. But It is very, very uncertain on the revenue side for the next 12 months. It really depends on the length and what the virus does.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to sound doomsday, but I don't want to, I'm not going to sugarcoat it either.
That's a fair assessment.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any comments from the committee that they want to bring up or something to address? Vanessa?
No. No, just if no, I don't know. I was gonna say if this format continues on, I don't know if we could discuss, what a good format is to kind of move forward, but I don't know if this is gonna continue on into the fall when we have our next meeting, so.
Right. And that's true for everything, right? I mean, certainly just for the educational component, Vanessa, this is not optimal for the kids or families.
Yeah.
We all know that, and we don't want to continue this, but we also recognize that it's such an uncertain thing to make a prediction. I am operating as if school is opening in September, right?
Okay.
And then if it doesn't, and honestly, I want school to open in September, and I'm sending out positive energy that school's going to open in September, and I'm asking everyone to think that way with me, please.
So from Vanessa's comment, is there anybody that is a subject matter expert on this Zoom video conferencing stuff?
Yes, Gordon.
Gordon is? Okay. I've definitely got to try and get my other laptop going so I can use my screen while viewing whoever's presenting something and see everybody. Mary.
If
Mary's
it makes
here?
you, yes, if it makes you feel any better, Jim, I've got my iPhone and I only have one screen. So I don't know if it's user error on my part or I just don't have the capacity to expand it. And I can't see any of the minuscule spreadsheets or anything. So I need to figure out, I've got resident experts in the house and my students and my husband who use this all the time, so I can get pointers from them.
Yeah, Mary, you're likely on the speaker view, so it's probably just showing you whoever's speaking. You should see an option to switch to gallery view, and it should at least show you like 4.
All right. Like I said, this is probably a user error. But thank you.
Is there a chance, Gordon, would you be the man to speak to about getting a Chromebook for Mary to use if you want?
Oh, I have a Chromebook. I hate them. I hate them.
Mary's
I gave mine back to the school.
I'm right there with you.
I hate them. I have mine and I only bring it to
I'm
meetings.
thinking of giving mine back too.
I have other technology here. This was just the one that I know how to use from happy birthday Zoom meetings and things like that. So I'm going with what I know. I'll figure it out.
All right. So we'll go back to the committee comments. Annie, you're up. Anything?
No, I just welcome you as chair and welcome Maura returning as vice chair and looking forward to a great year with all of you.
All right. Mary?
I want to thank Annie for her leadership over the last, I want to say 3 years. Is that accurate?
4.
Yeah. In addition to welcoming and congratulating Jim and Maura. So I'm on board.
Beautiful. Thank you. Tammy? Anything to add?
Just looking forward to a good year. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Maura?
I just wanted to say thank you to Annie for her time last year. You did a great job. And looking forward, you made it to your first meeting, Jim. Good job. This could not have been an easy one to start with. So good job.
Thank you. All right. Christine, welcome aboard. How are you?
I am well. I'm very optimistic and hopeful to be part of this group. And I know working together, we're going to weather the storm. And to repeat other comments, thank you to Annie for all of her hard work And welcome to Jim. I know he'll do a great job.
Thank you. Rick, how about yourself?
I'm all set. Thanks.
All right. So that's, we'll call that an end to the committee comments section. And then next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 15th. And that's to review the budget committee questions, administration responses from the business manager after we review the unaudited 5-year budgets. When will we be getting those?
Question, yeah.
Annie?
What we've done in the past, and this can be, you know, this is up to you, your chair, so you decide how you want to do it. What we did in the past is all the members spent the time over the summer, and particularly once we get the year end, looking and seeing what's going on, what questions you might have, and then sending the questions to you. And then you put them all together so that there's not, you know, eliminating any duplicates and grouping them and things like that, and then submit them into Tom. So that's that date in September. And then Tom and Matt start working on the answers that they then give us on October 15th in our meeting.
Right.
Is that going to work for you, Jim?
Yeah, that'll work for me. I didn't quite remember from our first meeting last year. I know we kicked it off at that time, but I didn't quite remember if we just had the meeting and then left on our own to go review the information that was saved to the drive.
Yeah.
So
and we do have a question form that's in the Google Drive, in the team drive, that is good to use because it tells you, you know, all those codes that Matt went over. So you can do the codes and then the amount and then kind of the subject line and then kind of what's your question. And it gives a format so that the administration can find what it is you're asking and get us answers. Cheryl Gannon developed that form about five years ago.
Yes, excellent. So Rick and Christine, Tammy, you might want to look into it too. The budget committee drive, has that, I need to share that with Christine and Rich. And Tammy, do you have a new, you're still Team Mahoney at SAU17.net because of your
That's correct.
school board, right?
Yeah. I think I'm all set up on the drive.
Okay.
Yeah, Gordon got everybody on the drive.
Oh, you are?
Everybody's
Yeah,
on.
I confirmed everybody should be on.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess the orders are to go and review the items that are listed on the I guess starting July 2nd, the unaudited 5-year budgets.
And you'll
So,
notify us when that comes in and is available, correct?
yes.
Okay.
Tom has
Ask
to stand up.
Yep, quick. Jim,
Yep. Tom?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to note that, Mary, if you'd like a hand with your, I'm pointing to you, but it's going the wrong way. I'll point the other way. We're all, so just so you know, when you look at these grids of 16 people or whatever, you're all in different spots on each other's computers. So Mary's in my upper left, but it might be different on yours. It's just something to think about. I've learned that over the days. Mary, if you'd like a hand with anything, I know you have some resident folks or Rick or anyone would like a hand with how to use the Google Drive, the Zoom calls. Gordon's wonderful, and you can just call him and he'll do a little one-on-one tech support for you if you need to talk through how to use any of these various platforms more efficiently. We want to offer that to the BudCom as a service to help during this process, because the more comfortable you are with this modality of working, it's just easier to navigate. I mean, I can't believe how much better the skills are for our team on the administrative team after just a month of doing this, how quickly we get around and send out meeting notices, and it's amazing. So I know that some of you are new to the team and the drive might be new. I wanted you to know who your go-to person is if you have tech questions, and that would be Gordon.
And how do we reach him?
You can email him gparks@sau17.net.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's right. You're new too, Christine. Sorry. Yeah, you too. All of you though. I mean, it's this platform's great once you get used to it, but it does take some time.
All right.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Mary,
I was going to make a motion to adjourn. So moved.
I'll
Second.
Second. Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Have a nice evening, everyone. Nice to see
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Have a good night.